hate jeans. Unfortunately, they are very common here. So I made a pair that I like. This ended up taking 6 pairs of jeans. I'm only 5'3", so they go all the way. They cover my feet, they cover my toes. So I'm excited for y'all to actually see how I made them. I had about 5 pairs of Fashion Nova jeans that were still kind of hanging around my closet. At the same time, I noticed I don't have any pants. If I were to show you my closet, it's all shirts and tops and dresses, and then on the bottom, it's like a quarter of the amount. So what a perfect opportunity to give myself a pair of pants and to get rid of the jeans that I'm not wearing and the jeans that somebody else was not wearing, because I ended up having to go to the thrift store to finish it up. So I drew it out. Here is my plan. Just a bunch of squares sewn together and then a few stars on top. The concept wasn't complicated, but executing it was just tedious. So now the pattern. Yeah. So this was my pattern piece. Excuse me. And I kind of just, took my measurements around my butt and then around my leg and estimated how much bigger I wanted the pants. And since I wanted them super big, and if they ended up being too big, I could take them in. I just added, I don't know, like 5 inches to each side, probably. But I also didn't write it down, so, I'm a professional. I double checked my waist measurements as well before doing this, just to make sure, because it has to fit around the waist, but the legs can be as big as you want it. So I double checked my waist measurement and increased the measurements on the sides for my thighs and my calves by about 5 inches and just drew it straight down. I also guessed that's not an exact measurement. I think it was like 5 inches, but I also didn't write it down, so just as big as you want. If it was as big as I wanted them, since I knew that I would be able to take it in if it was too big, then any guess that was close to it was going to be fine. I actually didn't end up having to take it in at all. They fit perfectly and they look good and they're just as big as I wanted them to be. But if you're going to do this yourself, start big and then take it in smaller. But they're an oversized pair of jeans anyway, so it's whatever you do will be fine. I wanted to take my time and do it when I felt good, and whenever they were done is when they were done. I'll be sure to insert a picture somewhere around my face so that you can see what my pattern looked like. But really it's super simple, and I just did one leg so that I could cut 4 of the one. The first 3 pairs of jeans, I cut them all up into squares at different sizes and then pinned them together. After the first 2 is when I realized that 3 pairs of jeans was not going to be enough, and then I was actually going to need to go to the thrift store to get 3 more pairs of jeans in similar colors. That took longer than I thought it was going to. I had to look through all of the jeans and make sure that the swatches matched. That's when I decided I was going to sit down and try to do this voiceover for it. Because I'm not very organized. My thoughts are so unorganized. This took a while. I took my time and I came back to it over the course of multiple days. This was a lot of pinning and a lot of sewing. I stabbed myself a lot. Ouch. No, ouch. I stabbed myself probably a million times. That's okay. I just kept going. I washed the jeans that I got, cut them into squares and continued pinning and sewing. Lots and lots of pinning and sewing. There's not a whole lot of detail or a lot of tips or tricks that I can offer in that at that point. You just follow your pattern. One thing that I did do, I used one pattern piece once it was done to figure out the other pattern pieces. This is the crotch seam. So since it's going to be facing this way, I'm going to flip this over. And I'm going to pin these pieces on top of them to kind of mimic the same colorway that I have over here. Because once you figure it out once, you don't have to figure it out 3 more times. Put on a good movie. I put on Drag Race and some good YouTube videos just to pass the time, because you'll be sewing in squares for a while. For a while.
Wait, what?
We're gonna be here for a while.
So once you've sewn all of those squares together for the rest of your life, you can then trim what is essentially your new fabric to fit your pattern, and make sure that it's cut in the right way so that you can put them together right sides facing and sew them. So I did a little bit off camera, but essentially after I got the fabric put together, I trimmed these to the size of my pattern, put them right sides facing together, and then sewed the side seams. So that's sewing all the way across here, and then in the middle of the pant leg all the way up to the crotch seam, which is still open. And I put them over my legs and they look really cool. So when I originally took apart that first set of pants, I kept the waistband that fit me best. Now that I put it around my waist one more time before I can sew those legs to it, I think I'm actually going to extend it a couple of inches just so it's not exactly on my waist. So I'm going to take apart this waistband and then add a couple of patches to this waistband. Okay, so that's done. I'll just sew that down there and down there to get my little 4 inches of extension, and then it'll look all nice and clean, like a waistband. Hello again. It's the next day. So I went ahead and sewed on the waistband and also sewed down each of the little belt loops. It looks really good. I put the pants on so that I could add these denim stars that I cut out earlier. Other than, you know, sewing it and then washing it because I want it to fray, it'll be done. It'll be done. So to sew these stars on, because I want them to stand out a little bit more, I've got this yarn. I've got this blue yarn. It keeps it in the same color family, doing it monochrome. My original plan had red yarn on it, but I don't have red yarn right now, and I figured if I wanted to change it later, it wouldn't be too hard to do. So I'm just gonna do like a really basic running stitch across it, and I'm not even going to make it super even, and I'm not gonna worry about the stitches being too tight because I want it to stand out. So that's what I'm gonna do. looks cool. That stitching is kind of wonky. Here are the finished pants. I hope you learned something. I hope you learned from my mistakes. Ooh, I gotta talk about the mistakes that I did make and things that would actually probably be helpful. Iron-on interfacing. They have that kind that washes away after you wash the fabric. Get some iron-on interfacing and then you can lay out your square pieces and just iron them on like that. Then you won't even have to really worry about pins as much and you probably won't get stabbed as much. I just worked with what I had, so I didn't have that, but that type would have been a godsend. If I were to ever do this again, I would definitely get that. So if you do look closely, if you look close enough, you'll notice that like this dark is darker than the original pair of jeans that I had, which was like this one. But it's all good because once it's all together, it's kind of just like a mosaic of jean. So I'll probably glue these little points down on the stars so that they stay flat. But after it's washed, it gets all tattered and ripped and stuff, and I think that looks really cool. It doesn't have to come together all the way, 100%, right away. And that was definitely a lesson for me when making these jeans, and they came together really quickly in the end. Just experiment with what looks good to you. All I did was experiment with what looked good to me and went from there. Yeah. Okay. That's that on that. I think that's about it. I don't know. I don't really have an outro. Didn't really plan one.
I never thought I'd get this far.
Thanks for watching me make this pair of pants. I really appreciate it. We really appreciate it. Stick around. Stick around, no pressure, but if you want to. I hope you have a wonderful day. And I'll see y'all another time.